I need to figure out who I am and why do I keep going through these cycles, attracting the same type of people, ending in the same result, and me not leaving better than where I came into this friendship. I realized that I wasn't making friends. I was allowing people to choose me as their friend. And for me, I don't think it should be that way. I think you should choose who comes into your life, because when you let people choose you, you're at their whim instead of taking a step back and saying, okay, hold on, who are you? Are you good for my life? Just because you want me to be in yours does not mean it needs to be that way. And I was like, God, like, am I really not going to have any friends for the rest of my life? Like, what is about to happen? And I just was like, you know what? I'm not going to try to force anything. I'm not going to try and force and now try to pick up other relationships to try to fill that void. I just like, I'm gonna just sit, just live my life, and whoever comes into my life, that's who it's just gonna be.
Who's ready for some girl talk?
Welcome to Girl Talk. I'm Nicole D. Miller, author, blogger, speaker, hybrid book publisher, and your host. At Girl Talk, we are a safe space for female leaders to engage in healing and edifying conversation. This is your Me Too empathetic corner, where we have authentic and transformative dialogue designed to uplift and connect high-achieving women like you. Are you looking for a safe space to cultivate sisterhood with other like-minded female bosses? Leave your cape at the door and join the conversation. Hi guys, I'm your host, Nicole D. Miller, and thank you for joining part 2 of the conversation, Are Good Friends Hard to Find? Last time, we dove into the beautiful yet sometimes complex world of friendships. We shared stories and reflected on what it truly means to deepen connections with those who uplift and empower us. We had the honor to hear from fellow gurus Lisa Evans, Esperanza Gallon, Jamia Lewis, Jenna Lear, and Lisa Nichols. Each of these women went deep, giving us their true, authentic selves. If you'd like to connect with any of them, you can find their contact information in the show notes. Today, we're picking up right where we left off, but this time, we're going even deeper. Here at Girl Talk, we strive to build purposeful relationships, invest in the right circles, and surround ourselves with the kind of people who challenge us to become our best selves. If you feel the same, you're in the right place. So sit back, relax, grab your favorite beverage, and join the conversation.
Yeah, for me, getting married really changed my whole view about friendships, because I had always, before I got married 3 years ago, always had unhealthy relationships with people, with men, women. I just had no boundaries. It was just terrible. And that was due to a lot of trauma I had experienced when I was younger. And I think a lack of teaching women how to be friends. I feel like we don't, I feel like my mom would say, oh, that person's not your friend, but never, I don't know. It's a combination. I didn't really listen. Plus, I didn't really feel like they were really teaching us, okay, how to be a good friend, you should expect, all those things. So I have gone most of my life with unhealthy friendships, not even mostly on them, but a lot of it on me too, because I had no boundaries. So when I got married, and my husband is a very no nonsense person. And so he really called out a lot of things in my life, a lot of relationship dynamics that just were not healthy. And so I also looked at his relationship dynamics, and he has friends, male and female friends, great friendships from like 20 years ago. And I was always like, how do you do that? Like, how do you maintain all those friends? Because I can't even maintain friends for longer than like 5 years. And I just started looking at his dynamics and started seeing, okay, so this is what seems like it's healthy. This is what's not healthy. And so I started making changes in my life. And so now I really look for women that are, one, emotionally healthy, and emotionally intelligent, because that's really important to me. Like being able to be self-aware, being able to apologize, being able to know when, something's not right, or being able to communicate, being able to understand me because I'm a very emotional person, and it's being able to talk through things, all those things. Emotional intelligence is very important to me in all of my relationships. Faith is very important. For the most part, is very important when it comes to friendship and friendship dynamics. Also, a low maintenance friend, kind of what I think Lisa was describing, like a low maintenance friend. I'm very low maintenance and I'm married, so we're not going to hang out every day. We're not going to hang out every weekend, we're not going to talk as much as maybe a single person or a more extroverted person would. I just don't do that. So being able to be low maintenance with me, not have too many expectations out of each other, and just being able to grow and give grace with one another is very, very, very important with me, to me. So those are kind of the things that I look for. As far as maintaining relationships, I think that one thing I've been implementing in my life is trying to take my responsibility for my relationships as best as I can and do as best as I can. So like for checking in with someone, like for my close friends, I probably talk to them once a week. My friends who maybe are not as close, I probably try to check in with them, say, hey, how you doing, every 2 weeks. And then like associates that I know at a distance, I try to check in with them at least once a month just to see how they're doing and do what I can to maintain like my side of communication. I don't do that well every single month, but that's really how I try to maintain the relationship. And if someone, doesn't respond after a couple months, I don't take it hard at all because it's like, it's life. And that doesn't mean we're not friends. We just don't talk as much, or that just may be the nature of our relationship. When we get together, we're talking for like 5 hours watching Grey's Anatomy or drinking wine and catching up about the last 6 months of our lives. And then we don't talk for, 3 months again. So I value those type of relationships as well as the ones that I talk to maybe once a week or once every other week. So that's really how I try to maintain relationships, try to be as supportive as I can, even if it's through Instagram. So if I, like your, put a heart eyes on your Instagram story, so only you see it, or may send you a message on Instagram, whatever, those little things I think people really appreciate, because I really appreciate it from people. Like, even if I haven't talked to you in a while, if you say, hey, oh my God, you're doing so good, I'm like, oh, wow, thank you. I haven't talked to you in a while, but I appreciate you even taking that time out of your day to respond to me like that. So I try to do like things like that to maintain a relationship, to maintain my relationships, no matter, how far apart we are. Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right. I don't know that I have all the questions that you asked clear in my head. And if you could see the little index card that I have written down, it's like now everything is jumbled and I don't know what I was supposed to say.
The first question was, what are character traits that you look for in a friend? Okay. Then how do you work hard to maintain those friendships?
Okay. So characteristics that I look for, I think always, I don't remember a time where I didn't look for this, and maybe this stems from like my first experience, as a kindergartner, but the idea of trustworthiness, that's a really big deal to me. I'm a very private person. And so I from a very young age, I can just remember analyzing, can this person keep a confidence? I didn't have that language to describe what it is, but if I was noticing, okay, this person is telling me about somebody else's business, or they told me what was going on with somebody else, I'm not telling them my business. And this is like elementary school. I was analyzing this stuff. So that's a big deal. That hasn't really gone away in terms of me assessing, is this a trustworthy person? Can I entrust my heart or the things that I hold dear to them and expect that it's not going to go anywhere else? And so to varying degrees, just learning that lesson. I think one thing that I've learned over time is just that the length of time that someone has been in my life doesn't guarantee them a spot in my life in the future. Or just because we were close at one time doesn't mean that we're going to continue to be close. We keep growing, we keep learning. we change, and sometimes that means that people grow apart. And I think you can grow apart, and I'm saying this like just based off of my own experiences. You can grow apart and it still be like it's all love there, no bad blood or anything like that. And then like, no, you can grow apart and it's not fixable. And so I'm thinking of a specific instance for me, which still brings up a lot of pain. I won't say a lot of pain, but it's still hurtful even to think of it, because I don't think that had to be the outcome. But I had someone who I would have described as a friend in my life for years, had known them from a child on. And just through various experiences, just feeling like there wasn't any reciprocity in our relationship. And I felt very unsupported by them, and that, could identify certain spaces where I felt like I saw that. And so, as Esperanza mentioned earlier, not handling it the best way, like my first step was avoidance. So that's even another thing that I would look for. It's like, am I acting funny? Am I acting funny? Am I avoiding? Because then that's telling me something about what I'm feeling, even if I'm not ready to acknowledge it for myself. So noticing that I just stopped, trying to reach out or trying to engage, until the point that I got really convicted. And I like saw them randomly when I was driving. And I'm like, Lord, you did that on purpose. Like they didn't see me, but I saw them. I was like, oh, okay. Like, I know I need to say something. I can't just not say anything about this. And so when I did take the time to like reach out and say, hey, can we have this conversation? Like, this is why you haven't heard from me. This is what was bothering me. And then apologizing for my part and not communicating those things sooner. It was soon after that like we did not have any more communication, like despite me reaching out. So then that would be something else that I look for. Do we have the ability to resolve conflict together? Because not for anybody. I can't have a relationship or maintain a connection with anyone without the ability to be able to resolve conflict together. If we cannot do that, then we are not in alignment. We're not in alignment, because I'm trying to stay emotionally healthy, as Lisa Evans? As Lisa Evans talked about, like, I'm trying to stay emotionally healthy. And if you're not on that same path, God bless. And we gonna part ways, or we need to. We need to, just for my own peace of mind. So I think in terms of maintaining, look at how we approach resolving conflict, and then consider myself, am I acting funny? Am I avoiding? Because if I am, then that's something that I have responsibility, because it's in me to deal with. That's not on them to deal with. That's on me. And then even knowing that there are different expectations in different seasons of friendship as well. So between that, and then knowing that you have different friends for different things, knowing that that's okay too. Like, it can't be just, circumstances change, and just learning how to navigate with the changes and not holding people to the same expectations of the past. So.
Meaty stuff. Thank you for sharing. So I'll say similar traits. Definitely, I wanted to say kind-hearted, because when I think of my friend circle, they're all very sweet people. I can look at my own childhood and see those traits in myself. And so I'm glad that I attract kind-hearted people. And I think that's kind of understated in our culture, where we value aesthetics or things that are kind of superficial, but like having a heart that is pure, that wants the best for someone else, that is not mean-spirited. I really value that in my tribe. Also, authenticity, because I just cannot do fake. I've been in those circles. People have their guards up. I get it. They have their own stuff, but I'm not going to be around for long if I feel like we're not being authentic and we're not going deep and really getting to know each other. So that's important. Another trait I realized that my friends have is they're all avid learners. So I just kind of roll with people who value knowledge, who value self-evolution, transformation. They don't want to stay stagnant. One of my close friends asked me a while ago how I had these 20-year plus friendships. And I thought about it and I said, we all value growth, because you're not going to be the same person, hopefully, you were 20 years ago. You're going to keep changing and transforming, and you can grow together if you both have that mindset. And I think people who are married could probably say the same thing. I love that Jumia said, different friends for different reasons. I totally can look at my life and see I have that. And I think that that helps with removing codependency. And that's something that I've struggled with in the past with friendships. When you're putting such a weight on one or two people and going to them for everything, and it can be very draining and toxic. So I'm grateful to have kind of matured in that aspect of my life. So in order for me to maintain my friendships, similar to what you guys said, offering that grace, adjusting my expectations, this is something I had to learn a while ago, was like, if people are in different life seasons, like I'm not married, I don't have children, that sort of thing. It's like, I can't expect them to do what I do. Maybe I can offer time and space and availability in a way that they can't, but they are going to show up for me in the way that they can. As long as there's a reciprocating of showing up for me and support, I'm good. It may not look the same way it does for me, and vice versa, you know, especially in this season, you guys, this is a whole nother topic, but this entrepreneurship season, I'm just MIA sometimes. I just am. So, but I need grace, and I'm learning that to give grace as well. And I think the other side of that is that humility of self-awareness when you're messing up and you have to humble yourself and you have to address, I'm offended. That's so embarrassing to me. I hate having those conversations. They drive me nuts. But they have to happen for us to grow. And so all of that is a part of building those lifelong standing relationships. You know, you guys are being vulnerable with each other, and it's a safe space to do that. And so we are near the end. I was hoping to get to the last questions. I don't know if you guys have to get off or not. If you do, I totally get it. You can go, Jenna, no worries. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate your time.
No, I meant, can I speak? Because I didn't get to.
Oh, go. I thought you were trying to leave.
I'm gonna make sure I take up my space, right?
Did I cut you off? Were you supposed to go? Girl.
I was, but it's
Thank
okay.
you for
I love
speaking
hearing
up.
new stuff. So you can finish out.
No, that was it. I was going to switch to the next question, but go ahead.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So thank you for that. I wanted to chime in. I was writing down I'm at the last. So you guys said like all the good stuff and I agree. And I was writing all this stuff down, and that's the one thing that was top of my list, Nicole, was like committed to growth. I like really look to be around people who want to grow and want to, you know, become better humans and, you know, learn about themselves just as much as they learn about other things. And I want to laugh through life. So I look for people who can laugh with me. Like, I just feel like life can be really hard sometimes. So I'm like, how can we just laugh at the things that are happening and find joy in it? And I think adventures, amongst a lot of the things that you guys said, adventures is one of like my life values. And so I look for those that I can hold a friendship with that also value that. That could be anything from like learning new ways of being to travel and to gathering with strangers and, you know, connecting and meeting new people. And those are all like different types of adventures. So those are traits that I look for. And the emotional intelligence piece and awareness piece is like key. So thanks for, you know, saying that, Lisa. I think we can all kind of like echo that. And I also like, I think the giving and receiving that you guys talked about, I like totally feel that for how to maintain relationships. And being able to receive, that's something that I've done a lot of work on. Like, how can I actually open myself up and feel worthy to receive from others and not have to feel like, no, it's okay. Or like, you know, pieces like that. It's like, yes, and I'm open to receiving just as much as I give. And I think the last piece that really hit on it for me in terms of maintaining relationships is how do you continue to build trust? So as you can grow together, it's also like, how do you build trust together? Because trust shifts too, just as much as, you know, values and ways of being shift as an individual. So yeah, I think that's about it for me. So thanks for letting me share that.
I'm glad you said the sense of humor, because I wanted to say that and I forgot it. And that is huge. I love to laugh, you know. Again, my authenticity, I can't laugh or smile if it's fake. I hate when people tell me to smile, I don't feel like smiling. But if it's genuine, like all day, I'm smiling, laughing all day. So. All right. So the last question is the topic of discussion tonight. Are good friends hard to find? So let's start with Jenna since I cut her off. So we'll go Jenna, Esperanza, Jamia, Lisa Nichols, Lisa Evans.
You know, my personal feedback on this is I think it's harder to make friends as an adult. I do think it's based on personality. For me, I'm more like an introvert. I can be shyer. And so I'm not always the first to be like, hey, what's your name? Like, how are you? And stuff like that. But I also think it's like how well we know ourselves is then how we can reflect out who we're trying to attract in. Much like you would for like a romantic relationship. I think it works the same for friendship and relationships. So I don't think they're hard to find. I think it's what you find within yourself, like the trust or the love or the worth, the enoughness, all of those pieces that you have for yourself, and looking to make sure you're attracting those that you can have a friendship with and a relationship with that have the same value points. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Thanks, Jenna.
Yeah, thanks, Jenna. I do think it's hard to find friends as you're older. When we're younger, I feel like we have all of these friendships of convenience, like we're going to school or we're playing soccer or just these different activities where you kind of naturally have a built-in community to be able to get to know people, and you can expand that to getting to know them outside of that particular activity. But then as an adult, you could obviously still have a very full calendar of activities and things that you're doing, but it's not necessarily as natural or as built in. And as a counselor, the more that I work with adults over the years, it's made me have a real gratitude for my own support system, and just knowing, because I work with a lot of people, how many adults don't have a good support system. Like to have a conversation with someone like, all right, who's like your closest friend that can support you through this healing process that you're on. They might name, oh, my sister, or, this person from, childhood or whatever. I'm like, okay, great. Do you think they would help you with this particular counseling homework I'm giving you? Oh, no, like we don't talk about those kind of things. And so they're like close, but they're more of like on a superficial level. You might have a lot of contact with those people, but not necessarily like a depth to those relationships. That's been really eye-opening to me throughout my practice of like, oh, this is really hard to do. Not to mention, sometimes you get a certain age and that growth piece can be missing, of like just opening your heart and having the capacity to let new people in your life. Like there are lots of good people out there still that will be good friends, but sometimes you'd be like, nah. And I know I've been guilty of it, going out doing something and someone be really friendly and everything like that, and I'd be like, nah, no new friends. Nope, I don't need. We can just leave this right here. And sometimes that's appropriate, but sometimes, it's just, again, not being open to like the good people that God would bring across my path. So I think we can sometimes limit ourselves as we get older too, and limit ourselves in hope if you're struggling with the support system and be like, oh, well, because I'm older, it's a done deal. The friends that I have now, that's it, now and forever. And that's just not life. So.
Thanks, Hope.
Right. So I had to laugh as Esperanza was talking, because I've heard her say that many times with all the seriousness in the world, like no new friends. And then there'll be this new person that she's telling me about. I'm like, okay. I mean, so it's just funny. She really means that. So I want to acknowledge too what is being put in the chat in just a second. So I'll acknowledge it in the context of what I'm going to share. But on my individual live that I had with Nicole last week, I changed the wording of it to like, well, for me, I would phrase the response to it. It's not necessarily that good friends are hard to find, but it is hard to cultivate. It is difficult to, because wanting a friend requires you to be a good friend. It's like, if you want those things, you have to be willing to offer them. You have to be aware of how you're functioning is, maybe rubbing up against someone in the wrong way. and being willing to see what might need to be done differently. So I'm looking at the comments. Can I read the comment out loud from Jocelyn? That's who I was.
If she's okay with that.
I believe she is. I'm quite sure she is. Go ahead. I'll wait. Yep, I knew it. Okay. All right. So, so in responding to that, Jocelyn is another one of my dear sister friends. And so what she says, I'll say it for those maybe who can't see it. I agree it is challenging to maintain and find new friendships as an adult. I've moved a lot as an adult, and it can be exhausting to meet new people everywhere. And also her daughter, shout out to Kobe, is listening and loving the conversation.
Aww.
And so that's really awesome. I don't believe Jocelyn would have an issue with me sharing this. And so, but we had to have our own conversation last year. One of the things that came from that is I remember Jocelyn's response in the conversation, like she thanked me. She thanked me for bringing it up, for valuing our relationship enough to bring up what was on my heart. And what meant so much to me was that she listened. It wasn't a rejection of what I was saying as truth, like, hey, this is my experience. This is how I felt about it, which meant the world. And that kind of goes back to this idea of, can we resolve conflict together? Do we value the relationship enough? Do we value the connection enough to be willing to hear hard things, be willing to say hard things, and to decide, am I going to move, differently or not? So I think that cultivation piece is everything. And then deciding, like, how is it that I can be a good friend? What is it that I am offering to those that are around me, not wanting a connection to be one-sided. And in areas where I feel like it has that been something where you give the other person an opportunity to respond? Because it's not fair. It's not fair to hold people to an expectation that they don't know exists, So it's a learning how to do that, learning how to grow and show up for ourselves in that way, I think as well. And I just want to bring this up. I don't know necessarily the tie-in, but it's coming to mind again. But the scripture where Jesus is talking about, like, there's a friend stick, or is this in Proverbs? I don't know. I've been misquoting scripture lately. I don't know. Forgive it. Okay, it's in there though. It's in there somewhere. So a brother is born for a day of adversity, but a faithful friend who can find, or something like that.
You gave us enough to research.
Thank you. Okay, all right. And that's what good friends do. Giving me grace since I shared that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think it's me. I would just say that I think maybe it's not so much that good friends are hard to find, but I do feel like what Esperanza was saying, like, at different stages of life, you're more surrounded by this automatic, like, community of people because you're in school or you're whatever. And so it feels easier because you interact with the same people on a regular basis, I guess. And when you're an adult, your circle of people that you interact on a daily basis can be, like, a lot smaller. So I think that's why it feels harder, but I'm not sure, like someone, people were saying, but there are still great people out there. It's just that there's less control over, I don't know who I'm going to meet today. I don't know how I'm going to meet somebody. You know what I'm saying? So I think that for me, that's the challenge, is sometimes being in the right place, but then also having that openness, because I definitely resonate with that feeling like I don't have the energy right now. So then you can kind of be closed off because you're like, yeah, I'm probably not going to meet anyone. So
I love that you pointed that out, that in our day-to-day in the season, we have a smaller network that we're communicating with. I didn't even recognize that pool is just automatically smaller as you get older.
Yeah. You never know. I've met, like, genuine friends on, like, LinkedIn and stuff.
Well, yeah, my first thought was social media, but I was going to that for my response. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, this is a good question. So I've experienced my friendship breakup, hopefully the last one, with an intentional, like, okay, we just need to not be friends anymore. 2 years ago. After that, I was like, you know what? I need to figure out who I am and why do I keep going through these cycles, attracting the same type of people, ending in the same result, and me not leaving better than where I came into this friendship. So I kind of just chilled out on trying to make new friends because I realized that I wasn't making friends. I was allowing people to choose me as their friend. And for me, I don't think it should be that way. I think you should choose who comes into your life, because when you let people choose you, you're at their whim, and you're kind of like, okay, well, you chose me, so that must mean like I'm good enough, or like, let me just follow, let me just go with it, instead of taking a step back and saying, okay, hold on, like, who are you? Are you good for my life? Just because you want me to be in yours does not mean it needs to be that way. So I was like, let me just take a step back. And I was like, God, like, am I really not going to have any friends for the rest of my life? What is about to happen? And I just was like, you know what? I'm not going to try to force anything. I'm not going to try and force and now try to pick up, other relationships to try to fill that void. I just like, I'm gonna just sit and just live my life. And whoever comes into my life, that's who it's just going to be. And I'm very, very, very glad I did that, because I realized who I was, who I wanted in my life, like who was in my life already that I needed to maybe reevaluate or like grow closer to, or, do better with that relationship, instead of trying to meet new people. And I saw God completely transform my view on relationships and my actual relationships, to the point where, like I said, I now choose who is in my life. And so now I can pick better people because I'm better. During that period, I was getting to know myself because I didn't know who I was really. And so I became more secure in myself, and I was more open to people, because when I was like insecure and not really knowing who I was, I just was not that trusting of people. I didn't want to open up. I didn't want to be extroverted in moments where I just wanted to be introverted. And so I didn't really open up to new people and make new friends. And so during that process, it really changed me and allowed me to be more open, to the point where, like, that's how me and Nicole became friends, because I was at an event for my husband and I was late. So I came in late, first of all, as always. And so I sat on a couch by myself, which is my go-to. I'm always sitting by myself. Like, I'm just here to support my husband. That's it. And so Nicole came over and started talking to me. And at first it was just like surface level. And normally I would stop talking. I would just end it, with, okay, yeah, good to see you here, or something like that, like, nice meeting you or something. But I was like, you know what? Let me do something different. Let me continue to grow and actually, engage in conversation with this person that I don't know. And if I had not done that, I would have never met Nicole and I wouldn't be here. So when, like a lot of you said, allowing yourself to heal and like grow and open up in those moments really helps you to be able to attract better people around you, or attract the people that God wants you to have in your life, or attract people that could take you to the next level. Because all of the people that God has been bringing in my life is crazy. All of them have given me so much wisdom, whether it's in my marriage, in my business, in my, workplace. And that has never happened before. So sorry, it's getting a little dark, but yeah, I think that, so good friends. Oh yeah, that's the question. So yeah, I don't think good friends are hard to find. I think that once you when you're really secure in yourself, really like heal for the most part, where you are in a healthy place, you look at things from a healthy viewpoint, then I think God allows people to come into your life that will be beneficial to your life, whether they're lifelong friends, seasonal friends, whatever. I think your outlook changes and you're able to have more healthy type of relationship. So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Lisa. And I just want to let everybody who doesn't know, I am a natural introvert. Okay, so the fact that I just willy-nilly was talking to Lisa, a perfect stranger, at this event, does not negate that. But I'm really good with one-on-ones and small groups, and that's kind of naturally how I flow. Lisa and I actually attended a different event where it was all these people and we were just like magnets. So that just goes to show, like, I just like going deep with people. I can do the big crowds and the masses. That takes energy, but what I thrive off of is that one-on-one connection in a small group. So what I'll say is basically what you guys said. I do think it can be harder for people to cultivate relationships. I've heard people sharing this, and I do think it is about being open-minded, where your mindset is, as a man thinks he is in his heart. And it's just like, you will attract what your belief system is, if you're shut down, if you're wounded, all of that. Now there's grace, because I've been shut down and wounded and still gotten friends. So I'm not saying there's a formula, but I do think that you putting yourselves in those environments to be open, to connect with people can, help you with establishing relationships. I do think it's harder to go deep. I know of people that have had the kicking it friends or the social friends or the acquaintances, but to get that like true sisterhood, the ride or die, we in this thing forever, that takes work. So I'm in agreement with Jamia's take on that as far as cultivating friendships. Lisa also hit on friendship breakups. I'm like, oh God, we need another Zoom on that, because that's a whole nother thing. It's like, friendships don't get enough clout in our culture and society as to how impactful they can be, especially for women. We kind of esteem dating relationships, but we're just as impacted with our friends, And so when we go through a friendship breakup, it's like, man, that's rough. And I know Jamia touched on this earlier as far as like having to let something go. And my thought was like, yeah, you have to respect people's choices, even when you don't agree. Like, hey, we could make it through this. But it's like, but I got to respect your choice. Like, you got free will. That's your choice, even if I'm not in agreement. So you guys touched on a lot. We had some comments on the Instagram. Somebody was saying like they really needed this today. I'm like, oh, people are being helped and touched. I haven't gotten a chance to look at all the chats, but I'm going to send them to you guys via email after this is over. I so appreciate your time. We went 20 minutes over. We might have to make this hour and a half next time so we don't feel as rushed. But I think there was a lot of food for thought. I think a lot of other people can resonate with all of the nuggets and jewels that you guys shared. Thank you for being a part of my friend circle. I'm definitely appreciative of the support, and anything else that you guys want to throw out there before we wrap up, feel free to chime in.
I'll just say it's never too late to make friends, to repair, broken friendships. Like you said, Nicole, if you have the other party that's willing. I've just seen it happen a lot in my own life, as well as the people that I work with. You can not have a great support system and be able to grow it in time. So I just want to encourage people.
Thank you for that hope.
Yeah, I was gonna say also time is very key in friendships. I think a lot of times we kind of like instantly want this 20-year friendship on day one, and it's like, no, you don't know that person, so you haven't gone through things together. I think of my one friend who made me her god mom to her daughter. Like, we met in 2018, and I didn't think at that time we would be like really close friends, but we just continue to grow, continue to just like get to know each other, genuinely get to know each other with no expectations. And now we're really close friends to this level. So I think like just letting relationships grow naturally, however they're going to grow over time, is really, really, really key. Being aware of like, the dynamics and what's going on, but also just letting it grow and flourish the way that it's supposed to will also help in developing and building relationships, and not expecting it to be tomorrow we're best friends and we do every single thing together.
Can you relate to Lisa Evans when she said there was a lack in teaching women how to be friends? In my opinion, that was a profound insight. I know I was never taught how to be a good friend, and as a result, have had some pretty unhealthy dependencies on other women in my life. Or I've even overextended myself in friendships, just as Lisa Nichols shared earlier in the conversation. It took me years to undo some of my unhealthy habits that I developed over time. Can you relate? If so, know that you're not alone. One of the things I loved about this conversation was that the women were honest about their shortcomings. Often we can point the finger and look at others, but Lisa Evans starts us off by baring her soul and letting us in on her need to sit with self. She had to look at herself and say, why do I keep finding myself in the same cycles? That was when she had a breakthrough. That was when God moved. I remember years ago, after a very difficult friendship breakup, I was running outside, back when I used to run long distances, and I was in turmoil over the loss of this friend. I kept going over and over in my mind about what went wrong because I simply didn't see myself. It was during that run that I had a road to Damascus moment, and just like Paul, where I was once blind, I could finally see. I saw myself and my own contribution to the loss of that friend. That moment was life-changing, and I started doing the work to grow and heal. I can happily say that I've bounced back from that loss, and it's elevated me into manifesting more of my true self. And guess what? I'm surrounded by women who are doing the same thing. If you're interested in growing and healing, I want to throw out some thought-provoking questions based on this episode to assist you in your journey. What attributes do you look for in friends? Some common ones that were shared were emotional intelligence, the ability to engage in conflict resolution, and the ability to take accountability. One of the points that Jamia made was that if we don't share common attributes, we're not in alignment. So sometimes it's about looking for the right characteristics in the people that you allow in your life. Here are some key takeaways you can use to meditate on that can also assist in your growth. Understand that we have different friends for different things and adjust your expectations accordingly. Understand there are different seasons for friendships, and we have to learn how to navigate these changes in healthy ways. Just because someone was there for a long time doesn't mean they should stay. So take inventory of your circle. It can take time to build a friendship. Connections don't always happen immediately, so be patient. And ultimately, we've landed on that good friends are not hard to find, but hard to cultivate, just as Jamia shared. All right, guys, that concludes our discussion. Are good friends hard to find? Like what you're hearing? Then stay tuned for our next episode, Healing from Heartbreak, where we dive into the heart-wrenching, painful experiences of romantic breakups. It's going to be a good discussion that you won't want to miss. And remember, sis, I attract amazing women doing amazing things. That means you're amazing. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. To continue the conversation, join our Girl Talk community by following @GirlTalkCLE on Instagram and Facebook.com/HTOHB, where you can join the Girl Talk Facebook group. You can follow me personally on Instagram @HTOHB, on Facebook.com/HTOHB, and at YouTube.com/@HTOHB. Feel free to reach out via email info@indiemillerpublishing.com. If you're a writer who wants to take the next steps into becoming a published author, you can book a one-on-one consultation at indiemiller.pub. Just let me know you heard about my publishing house through Girl Talk, and I'll give you a 50% discount on our one-on-one. If you'd like weekly inspirational nuggets, you can subscribe to my blog and monthly newsletter at NicoleDmiller.com, where you can learn more about me and my writings.